The Zircon Empire stretched across countless star systems. Its fleets of gleaming ships patrolled the borders, and its leaders ruled with confidence. People in the Empire believed that nothing could challenge their power. Commander Ryan, a respected officer in the Zircon fleet, had served the Empire for many years. He had seen minor threats and border disputes, but nothing like what he was about to encounter. It started with a strange signal. Ryan was in the command room of the starship Vanguard, observing the scanners when a small, unidentifiable object appeared near the edge of their system. The sensors could not detect its size or composition clearly. Its energy signature was unlike anything the Empire had recorded. "Commander, we have an unknown ship at the outer rim," said Lieutenant Mara, her eyes fixed on the screen. Ryan leaned closer, studying the strange readings. "How fast is it moving?" he asked. "Too fast for our sensors to track properly," Mara replied. "It appeared suddenly, and now it seems to be vanishing." Ryan frowned. The Empire had always been strong, but he felt a small spark of unease. "Alert the fleet," he ordered. "Prepare to intercept it if it appears again. I want all ships ready to move at full speed." The fleet quickly assembled, massive ships forming a line in space. The commanders communicated silently through their systems, waiting for any sign of the unknown ship. Hours passed, but it did not return. Finally, it disappeared completely, leaving only a faint energy trace that slowly faded. Ryan called a meeting with the Empire's science officers. The room was filled with scholars and engineers, all staring at the strange data on the screens. "This is unlike anything we have ever seen," said scientist Caro. "Its energy pattern is advanced, far beyond our current technology. It could be a warning or a threat. We cannot be sure." Another officer, Lyra, spoke next. "Commander, could it be a new type of warship? Something the Empire has never faced before?" Ryan shook his head. "It does not behave like a warship. It appeared, lingered for a moment, and vanished. There was no attack. This is something different, and we must understand it before it returns." Meanwhile, on the outer colonies, people noticed strange events. In one small settlement, farmers saw their crops growing faster than normal. The sky lit up with colors that were not part of any natural phenomenon. Some children claimed they saw glowing symbols moving across the horizon. People whispered about the unknown ship, though many feared speaking too loudly. Back on the Vanguard, Ryan reviewed the scanner readings again. "We need to study this energy residue carefully," he said. "It may hold the key to understanding what we are dealing with." The science team worked day and night. They examined the energy traces, tested samples, and ran simulations. The more they studied, the more they realized how advanced the unknown ship was. Its technology did not rely on ordinary power sources, and it seemed almost alive in the way it moved and disappeared. Ryan walked through the lab, watching the scientists work. He noticed the mixture of fear and excitement in their eyes. Even the most experienced researchers were humbled by the unknown presence. "It is like nothing we have ever known," Caro said quietly. "Its systems seem to adapt on their own. It is not designed for war in the way we understand it. It may have a purpose we cannot even imagine." Ryan nodded slowly. "Then we must be careful. The Empire has always relied on strength and control. But this is something we cannot control yet. We need patience and wisdom." The night passed, and the fleet remained on alert. Ryan could not sleep. He thought about the ship and the quiet power it had shown. It had not attacked, but it had challenged the Empire's certainty. For the first time in a long while, Ryan wondered if the Empire's pride was its greatest weakness. As the stars shifted above the outer rim, the unknown ship lingered somewhere in the darkness of space. No one could see it, and no one knew its intentions. Yet its sudden arrival had already set events in motion that would change the Empire forever. Commander Ryan could feel it. The galaxy was about to witness something new, and the Empire might not be ready for it. Ryan stood at the observation deck, staring at the empty void where the ship had appeared. "We will find it," he whispered to himself. "And when we do, we must be ready to understand, not just to fight." For now, the unknown ship was gone, but its presence was undeniable. The Empire believed it ruled the stars, yet a single ship had already sown doubt. In the vastness of space, a quiet force waited, unseen, patient, and far more powerful than anyone could guess. Weeks passed after the mysterious ship first appeared and vanished. The Zircon Empire continued its routines, but Commander Ryan could not shake the memory of the unknown vessel. Its energy patterns were still in the Empire's records, and scientists studied them tirelessly. Ryan and his team returned to the outer rim, closer to where the ship had been seen. The scanners picked up faint traces of its energy. They were weak but enough to excite the science officers. "This energy is not just advanced," said scientist Caro. "It is changing the environment. It affects plants, machines, and even communications." The Empire dismissed these claims at first. Leaders believed the fleet could handle anything. Yet, small colonies reported strange events that could not be explained. On the planet Varan, crops that normally took months to grow were flourishing in days. Streams of water flowed differently, creating patterns that seemed alive. People spoke quietly of lights in the sky, moving in shapes they had never seen. Ryan visited Varan personally to see the changes. Farmers greeted him with cautious curiosity. "Commander," one said, "our crops are growing faster, and the animals are healthier. We do not know why, but it feels different." Ryan examined the fields. He noticed the energy in the soil and the air. It was subtle, almost invisible, yet it was real. "This is the residue of the ship," he told the farmer. "It seems to be helping your world. But the Empire does not know its purpose yet. We must study it carefully." In the vanguard, the scientists worked to understand how the energy affected matter. Machines repaired themselves. Small devices that had broken for years suddenly started working again. Even communications across distant colonies improved. It was as if the ship's presence encouraged growth and repair. Lieutenant Mara pointed to a screen. "Commander, the energy seems to respond to living things. It strengthens life, repairs broken systems, and even improves teamwork. It is unlike any weapon we have seen." Ryan nodded. "This ship is not here to destroy. It is here to change the galaxy, quietly and without force. We must observe it, not attack it. The Empire's power is strong, but it relies on fear. This ship shows a different kind of strength." Meanwhile, rumors of the ship spread among the colonies. Children claimed they saw glowing symbols moving across the sky at night. Some spoke of gentle voices guiding them in their dreams. People began experimenting with the energy, learning to work together to solve problems. Small inventions appeared, inspired by the strange force. Even the Zircon scientists could not fully understand it. "It seems alive in a way we cannot measure," Caro said. "It does not just exist, it responds. It adapts. Perhaps it is teaching us something." Ryan realized that the Empire's arrogance was dangerous. They assumed that strength meant control. But the unknown ship showed a different kind of power, one based on knowledge, cooperation, and respect for life. The fleet continued to patrol the outer rim, but Ryan instructed them to avoid interfering with the colonies. "Do not attack or threaten them," he said. "Observe, learn, and protect. The Empire may be strong, but it must understand what it faces." As days passed, more signs appeared. Storms on some planets behaved unusually, forming gentle rains instead of violent winds. Machines repaired themselves without instructions. Communities that had been struggling began to prosper. People began sharing knowledge freely, forming networks of cooperation across worlds. Ryan watched all of this carefully. He felt both hope and concern. The Empire's pride could not accept a force that did not bow to it. Yet, he understood that this was the beginning of a change no fleet could stop. One night, as the stars shimmered over Varan, Ryan stood on a hill overlooking the fields. The wind carried a faint glow, like tiny sparks dancing in the air. He felt the energy of the ship even though it was invisible. It was patient, observing, waiting. The Empire believes it controls the stars, he whispered. But control is not always power. This is something else. In the colonies, people were beginning to awaken to possibilities they had never imagined. The unknown ship's influence was quiet but profound. It did not demand loyalty or obedience, yet it inspired courage, innovation, and hope. Ryan knew the Empire would notice soon. Some leaders would see it as a threat and try to crush it. Others might begin to question their way of ruling. He understood that the future of the galaxy was changing, and it was no longer certain who would hold power. Far away, in the silent depths of space, the unknown ship moved unseen. Its purpose remained a mystery, but its effects were clear. It had already begun reshaping worlds, planting seeds of change, and preparing the galaxy for something greater. Commander Ryan looked to the stars and felt the weight of his duty. The Empire might still be strong, but a new force had arrived, and it was unstoppable in ways the Zircon leaders could not yet understand. The quiet power of the unknown ship was only beginning to reveal itself, and the galaxy would never be the same. The unknown ship had not appeared for several weeks, but its presence was still felt across the outer rim. Commander Ryan remained on high alert. He often walked the corridors of the Vanguard, thinking about the strange energy patterns and the changes in the colonies. Every report made him more certain that the Empire was not ready for this mysterious force. One morning, sensors detected movement near the mining planet of Kaldor. The unknown ship had returned. It hovered silently above a small station that extracted rare minerals for the Empire. The station's workers stared in awe, seeing a vessel unlike anything they had imagined. Its surface glowed softly, with shifting patterns of light that seemed almost alive. Lieutenant Mara turned to Ryan. "Commander, the ship is observing the station. It has not fired any weapons. It seems calm." Ryan nodded. "Keep scanners active. Do not approach aggressively. We need to understand its purpose before making any decisions." The ship emitted a gentle pulse of energy. Machines in the station, which had been malfunctioning for months, suddenly repaired themselves. Conveyor belts moved smoothly, extractors worked efficiently, and the power grid stabilized. Workers whispered in amazement. "It's helping them," Mara said quietly. "Yes," Ryan replied. "It is not here to destroy. It is here to show something, but we do not know what yet." The scientists on the Vanguard worked quickly to analyze the pulse. Caro observed the readings on a large screen. "This energy is remarkable. It repairs systems, strengthens materials, and seems to respond to the needs of the station. It is like the ship knows what is required and acts without instruction." Ryan considered the possibilities. If this ship was so advanced, any attempt to attack it could fail. Even more, the colonies that were already influenced by its energy were growing stronger, more independent, and more inventive. The Empire's control was slipping without anyone realizing it. Suddenly, the ship emitted a series of light patterns. The colors moved like symbols, shifting and forming shapes across its surface. The scanners could not decode them immediately, but Caro worked quickly. "Commander, I believe this is a message. The patterns are complex, but they seem to represent guidance. It is telling us something about balance, growth, and cooperation." Ryan leaned closer. "Can we understand it fully?" Caro shook her head. "Not yet. But the intent is clear. This ship is not hostile. It is instructing, guiding, or testing us." The mining station workers watched in silence as the ship hovered above them. Some felt a calm warmth, as if the air itself had changed. They instinctively worked together more efficiently, fixing minor problems without instruction. Even Ryan felt the effect, a subtle sense of clarity and focus that was hard to explain. "Commander," Mara said, "look at the horizon." Through the observation window, Ryan saw faint trails of light spreading from the ship. The energy reached beyond the station, touching nearby fields, rivers, and forests. The planet itself seemed to respond, growing stronger and more vibrant. Life thrived under the ship's quiet influence. Ryan realized the significance. This was not just a ship. It was a force that encouraged growth, cooperation, and understanding. The Empire had always ruled through fear and force, but this presence showed a different way to lead and protect. Hours passed, and the ship finally began to move away. Before it vanished, it left a faint, glowing residue in the sky, a pattern of light that resembled constellations unfamiliar to anyone in the Empire. Caro recorded every detail. "These patterns may hold knowledge," she said. "The ship leaves a trail for those who are willing to learn." Ryan knew the Empire's leaders would not see it that way. They would interpret the ship as a threat, a challenge to their authority. But he also understood that some colonies would see the message clearly. Cooperation, innovation, and care for life were stronger than any fleet of warships. The fleet watched the ship disappear into the darkness of space. Ryan stood on the bridge, silent. "We may never fully understand it," he said. "But its purpose is clear. It wants to teach, not destroy." Meanwhile, on Kaldor, people began to discuss the changes openly. Farmers, miners, and engineers shared ideas freely. The station became a hub of learning and creativity. Even children played with the concepts they saw in the light patterns, imagining new inventions and solutions. Ryan realized that the unknown ship had shifted the balance. The Empire's power was no longer absolute. Its authority relied on control, but the influence of the ship encouraged independence and cooperation. The future of the galaxy was changing, and the Empire had no idea what was coming. As night fell on Kaldor, the stars shone brighter than usual. The glow of the ship's energy lingered in the sky like a silent promise. Ryan gazed at it, feeling both wonder and responsibility. He understood that this encounter was only the beginning. The unknown ship had returned, and its quiet guidance would soon reach far beyond the outer rim. For the first time, Ryan felt hope that the galaxy could grow stronger without conflict. The unknown ship had shown the path, and he knew the Empire could no longer ignore it. After the first encounter with the unknown ship, life in the outer colonies began to change. Commander Ryan watched reports from Kaldor and nearby planets with a mixture of awe and concern. The energy left behind by the ship encouraged growth, creativity, and cooperation. Colonies that had struggled for years were now thriving. In one small settlement on the planet Varan, people were experimenting with the ship's energy. Farmers used it to improve crop growth, engineers repaired broken machines, and teachers found new ways to inspire children. Everyone shared ideas openly, learning from each other. The community became stronger, more organized, and more independent. "This is incredible," said Lyra, one of the scientists sent to observe the colonies. "The ship's energy is teaching people to work together and solve problems. They are improving faster than we expected." Ryan nodded. "Yes, but the Empire will not like this. Strength comes from control, not cooperation. These colonies are learning to stand on their own. That could be dangerous for the Empire's leaders." Meanwhile, in the Zircon capital, officials discussed the growing independence of the colonies. Some wanted to send fleets to force them back under control. Others, like Ryan, urged caution. They recognized that the unknown ship was far more advanced than anything the Empire had faced. On Varan, the colonies began sharing knowledge across planets. Communication networks improved, powered by energy influenced by the ship. Engineers sent designs for new machines, Teachers shared lessons, and communities built systems to grow food and resources efficiently. The settlements no longer depended on the empire's strict control. One evening, Ryan visited Varen personally. He walked through the fields, observing the changes. Farmers worked together in harmony, their tools functioning better than ever. Children played near glowing streams, learning from simple machines that seemed to operate with ease. Even the animals were healthier and more active. "It feels alive," Ryan said quietly to Mara. "Not the people, but the land, the machines, even the air. Everything seems to respond to cooperation and care. The ship is teaching them without even being here." The colonies began to notice small successes that would have been impossible under the Empire's control. A team of engineers repaired a broken transport system in days, something that usually took months. Farmers doubled their harvests with careful planning and the help of the ship's energy. Communities became self-sufficient, sharing resources and knowledge freely. The Empire's fleets patrolled the Outer Rim, but they were confused. They could not understand why colonies were improving without any orders. Ryan reported the facts accurately, but the capital dismissed them as minor anomalies. "It is only temporary," officials said. "The Empire's power is too great to fail." Ryan, however, knew better. The ship had shown that true strength came from knowledge, collaboration, and courage, not fear. The colonies were discovering this for themselves, and once people understood their own power, the Empire's control would weaken. On the planet Kaldor, the mining station became a hub of innovation. Workers improved their machines using hints from the ship's light patterns. Engineers built devices that transported materials more efficiently. Children invented small tools for daily use, learning principles that had never been taught before. The station became a model for other colonies to follow. Ryan watched these changes with a mix of pride and worry. The colonies were growing stronger, but the Empire's leaders might see this as rebellion. He knew that if fleets were sent to stop them, the situation could become dangerous. Yet, he also knew that the colony's independence was inevitable. The ship's influence had sparked a new way of thinking. One night, Ryan stood on a hill overlooking a thriving village on Varen. The glow from the energy trails of the ship, faint but still visible, lit the fields. People moved with purpose, sharing ideas and solving problems together. He realized that the unknown ship had not just changed technology, it had changed hearts and minds. "These people will not be controlled by fear anymore," Ryan said softly. "They are learning to trust each other, to think, to create. That is a power the Empire cannot crush." The colonies continued to grow, quietly forming a network of cooperation across the Outer Rim. Scientists and engineers communicated through simple devices, farmers shared knowledge about crops and soil, and leaders emerged from within communities based on wisdom, not rank. The Empire had no idea that the foundations of its authority were starting to crumble. Far away in the silent expanse of space, the unknown ship observed. Its presence was subtle, guiding without interference, leaving behind patterns of energy and light that encouraged life to thrive. The colonies had begun to rise, not through weapons or armies, but through knowledge, cooperation, and hope. Commander Ryan knew that the Empire's time of unquestioned control was coming to an end. The unknown ship had returned strength to the people and inspired a movement the Empire could not understand. A quiet resistance was growing, and soon, the galaxy would witness a new kind of power. The Outer Rim was alive with change. Colonies no longer feared the Empire. They were learning, growing, and preparing for a future where knowledge and cooperation mattered more than domination. The rising resistance was peaceful but unstoppable, and Ryan understood that he was witnessing the beginning of a new era. The Zircon Empire could no longer ignore the outer colonies. Reports of thriving settlements, improved technology, and independent communities reached the capital. Some officials were worried, but most believed the Empire's fleets could easily restore control. They decided to act. Commander Ryan was called to the council. The colonies are spreading influence, one official said. They disobey orders and refuse to rely on the empire. We cannot allow this to continue. Ryan listened quietly. He had seen the colony's growth and understood the influence of the unknown ship. If you attack now, he warned, you may face something the empire cannot control. These people are stronger than you think. The officials ignored his warning. A massive fleet was assembled, the largest the empire had sent in decades. Thousands of ships prepared to move toward the outer rim, ready to enforce the empire's authority. Ryan was ordered to lead the mission. The Vanguard joined the fleet, its sensors scanning for the unknown ship. Ryan felt uneasy. He knew that attacking the colonies would not succeed if the ship intervened. The unknown vessel had already shown it could manipulate energy in ways the Empire could not counter. When the fleet reached Kaldor, they found the colonies waiting but calm. Farmers, engineers, and children worked together, unafraid. Machines that had been powered by the ship's energy functioned perfectly. The colonies were not preparing weapons, but every system was stronger and more efficient than the Empire expected. Ryan watched the fleet approach. Do not fire unless necessary, he ordered. Observe and report. The Empire's commanders did not listen. They assumed the colonies would submit under the threat of war. Cannons powered up, and ships advanced. But as the first shots were fired, strange phenomena began. Energy pulses emitted from the ship's previous presence surged across the colonies, disrupting the fleet's weapons. Engines failed, shields flickered, and communications went silent. What is happening? One officer shouted. Our systems are failing. Ryan's eyes widened. The unknown ship is interfering. It is protecting the colonies without being here. The fleet struggled to maintain control. Ships collided, engines overheated, and the powerful fleet lost cohesion. The colonies remained unharmed, their machines running smoothly. People moved with calm efficiency, repairing minor problems instantly. Suddenly, the unknown ship appeared. It moved silently through the Empire's fleet, cloaked in a soft glow of shifting light. The fleet could not touch it. Every attempt to target the ship failed. It seemed to pass through shields and weapons effortlessly. Ryan stared at the vessel. It is showing its power without attacking, he said. It wants to stop violence, not encourage it. The ship emitted another pulse, stronger than before. It reached deep into the Empire's fleet, disabling engines and weapons. The leaders realized that no fleet, no matter how large, could overpower this force. The unknown ship had turned the tide without firing a single shot. Meanwhile, in the colonies, people continued their work. Machines ran smoothly, crops thrived, and communications remained stable. They were aware of the fleet above but felt no fear. The ship's energy protected them, allowing them to act with calm and clarity. Ryan moved through the bridge of the Vanguard, observing the chaos around him. He realized that the Empire's strength, based on fear and dominance, was useless here. The unknown ship had shown a new kind of power, one based on wisdom, protection, and support. Commander, Mara said, look at the fleet. They are scattered and helpless. Ryan nodded. The Empire underestimated what strength really means. This is not about weapons or ships. It is about knowledge, cooperation, and care for life. That is the power of the unknown ship. The fleet began to retreat, unable to achieve their mission. The colonies remained safe, their independence confirmed. Even some officers who had doubted the colony's strength now saw that control through fear was no longer effective. As the Empire's ships moved away, the unknown vessel vanished again, leaving behind faint energy trails in the sky. The colonies celebrated quietly, knowing they had survived without harming anyone. They understood that the ship's guidance had saved them, teaching them that true power lay in unity, creativity, and courage. Ryan watched from the observation deck, a mix of relief and awe in his heart. The Empire had failed to assert control, but the colonies had learned something far more valuable. The unknown ship had proven that peaceful strength, intelligence, and cooperation were more powerful than fleets or weapons. In the Outer Rim, the colonies began planning for the future. They strengthened communication networks, shared knowledge across planets, and taught others to work together. The Empire would remain a threat, but the colonies now had a model of strength that the Empire could never destroy. The unknown ship had acted once again, invisible yet decisive. Its presence had changed the course of history, showing that the galaxy's greatest power did not belong to those who ruled with fear. True strength belonged to those who nurtured life, inspired knowledge, and protected the weak. Commander Ryan realized that the Empire's time of unquestioned control was ending. The unknown ship had shown the path, and the colonies were ready to follow it. A new era was beginning, one guided by wisdom and cooperation rather than fear and domination. After the Empire's failed attack, the outer colonies were no longer afraid. Commander Ryan watched reports with quiet satisfaction. The people had survived because they worked together, learned from the unknown ship's energy, and trusted each other. It was a new kind of strength, one the Empire could not understand. On Varan, the towns and villages were filled with activity. Farmers shared ideas with engineers, teachers guided children in creative projects, and local leaders helped communities solve problems together. Everyone contributed, and no one was left behind. The energy left by the unknown ship continued to support them, repairing tools, boosting crops, and improving daily life. "This is remarkable," said Lyra, a scientist observing the colonies. "People are not just surviving, they are growing stronger. They are learning how to organize and innovate without orders from the Empire." Ryan nodded. "They are discovering something the Empire never understood. True power comes from knowledge, cooperation, and courage, not fear and control." As news spread, other colonies began to follow the example. Small communities sent messages with designs for simple machines, farming techniques, and energy systems that had been improved by the ship's influence. People were no longer isolated. They were forming networks, learning from one another, and helping each other grow. On the planet Kaldor, the mining station had become a center of learning. Engineers and workers experimented with new machines inspired by the ship's light patterns. Children who had seen the patterns in the sky began building their own simple devices, asking questions, and discovering answers on their own. Adults taught them, and in return, the children suggested creative solutions the adults had never imagined. Ryan walked through the station, watching the energy in action. "It is like the ship is here," he said to Mara. "Even though we cannot see it, its influence guides them, strengthens them, and encourages them to think for themselves." The colonies were no longer simply surviving. They were thriving, learning, and preparing for the future. They were forming councils and systems of leadership based on fairness and knowledge rather than rank or fear. People listened to each other, solved disputes through discussion, and celebrated success together. Even some officers of the Empire began to question their orders. They saw how effective the colonies were when allowed to work together. Some quietly helped the colonies, sharing information or avoiding unnecessary interference. Ryan noticed this change and knew it was a sign that the Empire's control was weakening from within. At night, Ryan stood on a hill on Varan, looking at the glowing patterns left faintly in the sky by the unknown ship. The light was soft, almost like a promise. He felt hope that the colonies could grow without violence and that the people could take charge of their future. "These people are learning to be strong in ways the Empire cannot fight," he whispered. "Knowledge, cooperation, and courage are more powerful than fleets and weapons." The colonies began to unite more formally. Representatives from different settlements met to share ideas and create plans for mutual support. They designed systems for energy distribution, transportation, and communication. They even discussed ways to defend themselves without harming others, relying on intelligence and preparation rather than aggression. In the Outer Rim, the Empire's fleets remained in the background, unsure how to respond. They could not attack without risking failure, and they could not ignore the colony's growing strength. The unknown ship's influence had shifted the balance of power quietly but permanently. Ryan realized that the galaxy was entering a new era. The Empire had lost the unquestioned control it once held. The people were awakening to their own abilities, learning to work together, and discovering that cooperation was stronger than fear. On Kaldor, children ran through fields and workshops, building devices and helping repair machines. Adults worked alongside them, sharing knowledge and learning from the children's creativity. The community thrived, full of energy, ideas, and hope. Ryan smiled. The unknown ship had never attacked or forced anyone to obey it. Its power was subtle, guiding without controlling. It had shown the colonies that strength was not about domination. It was about understanding, caring, and building together. The people of the Outer Rim had awakened. They no longer relied on the Empire. They were learning, growing, and creating a future based on wisdom and cooperation. The galaxy was changing, and there was no turning back. Commander Ryan knew the Empire could not stop this awakening. Even if it tried, the people had learned to trust themselves and each other. The unknown ship had lit a spark, and that spark had grown into a quiet but unstoppable force. The stars above Varen glimmered with the faint glow of energy trails, a reminder that the unknown ship was still watching. Its presence was invisible but its effect was clear. The galaxy was learning a new way to live, one guided by knowledge, courage, and unity rather than fear. A new era had begun. The awakening of the people was unstoppable, and the unknown ship had shown them the path. The outer rim of the galaxy was no longer quiet. Colonies that had once depended on the Empire now thrived independently. Commander Ryan watched the reports from the Vanguard with a sense of pride. The unknown ship had vanished once more, but its influence remained. Life, innovation, and cooperation were spreading across the stars. On Varen, people celebrated the growth of their communities. Farmers shared the best methods for crops, engineers improved energy systems, and children worked with adults to design new tools. Everyone contributed, and everyone learned. Leadership came from wisdom and fairness, not rank or fear. The settlement had become a model for other colonies, showing that unity and knowledge were stronger than domination. Ryan walked through the village, observing the energy and excitement. "It is incredible to see," he said to Mara. "They are not just surviving. They are creating a future that the Empire cannot control." In the capital of the Zircon Empire, officials finally recognized that their power was no longer absolute. Fleets could not control the colonies, and the people's cooperation had grown too strong. Some leaders admitted that their approach of fear and force had failed. The Empire's influence still existed, but it was no longer enough to dominate the Outer Rim. The colonies had begun to establish a network across planets. Communication channels shared discoveries, resources were traded fairly, and communities helped each other solve problems. Engineers on one planet designed a simple energy system that farmers on another planet could use. Teachers shared lessons and methods across colonies. Everyone contributed, and everyone benefited. Ryan realized that the unknown ship had not only protected the colonies but had also taught them a vital lesson. Strength was not in weapons or fleets. True power came from knowledge, cooperation, and courage. The people had learned this lesson and were putting it into practice. On Kaldor, the mining station had become a hub of learning and creativity. Machines that once required constant maintenance now ran efficiently with minimal effort. Children invented new devices, and adults worked alongside them, sharing knowledge freely. Even the environment seemed to flourish under the careful stewardship of the people and the quiet energy left by the unknown ship. Ryan met with leaders from several colonies. They discussed plans for trade, education, and exploration. There was no fear in their eyes, only determination and hope. "We will continue to learn and grow," one leader said. "We do not need the Empire to tell us what to do. We can create a future together. The Vanguard observed quietly from orbit. Ryan knew that the Empire might attempt to regain control, but he also knew that it could not succeed. The colonies had discovered their own strength, and that strength could not be taken by force. Across the Outer Rim, children played, adults worked, and communities shared knowledge and resources. The galaxy was alive with creativity and cooperation. The lessons of the unknown ship were evident in every thriving settlement. People respected life, nurtured growth, and encouraged learning. Ryan looked at the stars and thought of the mysterious ship. Its purpose remained a mystery, but its influence had been clear. It had shown the galaxy a new path, a path of peaceful strength, knowledge, and unity. The Empire had been powerful, but it had relied on fear. The colonies now understood that true power was different, and they were ready to follow it. As night fell on Varen, the glow of faint energy trails lingered in the sky. They reminded the people that the unknown ship had been there, guiding them without interfering directly. It had taught them to trust themselves and each other, to build and protect rather than destroy. Ryan felt hope for the first time in years. The Empire's era of domination was over in the Outer Rim. A new era had begun, one guided by wisdom, cooperation, and courage. The galaxy was changing, and the people were ready to shape their own future. Even though the unknown ship had disappeared, its lesson remained. Colonies continued to communicate, share, and create. Communities learned to solve problems together, protect their people, and explore new possibilities. They had discovered the power of working as one, and nothing could take that away. Ryan understood that this was only the beginning. The Empire's control had ended, but the galaxy's growth had just started. Knowledge, cooperation, and courage would guide the people to new worlds, new discoveries, and a future filled with hope. The stars above Varen shone brightly, a symbol of a new beginning. The unknown ship had come and gone, but it had left something far greater than its presence, a lesson for all who lived in the galaxy. The colonies would thrive, the people would prosper, and a new era of peace, learning, and unity had begun. Commander Ryan smiled. The Empire had lost, not because of force, but because the galaxy had discovered a better way. A way of hope, strength, and cooperation. A new era was here, and it would shine brighter than any fleet or empire ever could.